Hey guys, welcome back. Andrew here with Ambient Endeavors, and the year's coming to an end, and I just wanted to say a really big thank you to all you guys who have either come on as new subscribers, folks who have continued to watch and check out videos, people engaging in the comments with questions or comments. I really appreciate it. This year is kind of full of end of year recaps and a lot of stats and numbers and things to kind of gauge how things are going, but genuinely it's been really cool to see where this channel has come this year. I've gotten to do a lot of fun videos for companies that I really admire around products and gear that I've been really excited about. So it's been fun for me to show that stuff to you. It's been really cool to engage with some of you, and let's keep it up. Before the year ends, I really wanted to fit in one more guitar video, and so we're going to do that today. We're checking out the Gretsch G5422TG. It was part of their reboot of their Electromatic line that they did earlier this year. So I was excited to get this guitar in for a few reasons. A few years back I had a 6120, one of the Chet Atkins model Gretsch's, and it was a great guitar. It was really fun to have this big hollow body with the Filtertrons that I love, but there was some quirkiness to it. The body style and size wasn't the most comfortable to play on stage, and the pickup selecting wasn't very intuitive. I never really figured out what the different positions were. I kind of found a couple I really liked, and then there was a number of them that were kind of quirky and really esoteric. So I ended up moving that guitar along, but ever since I moved it, I was always kind of eyeing what the next Gretsch would be, because I just love the sound and the character and the textures you can get with these guitars. So the 5422 is a little bit different than the 6120 model in some key ways, but I've really liked it. I think that it is a lot more conducive to what I use it for. It feels more comfortable to play, and it's really been impressive as part of their Electromatic line. I had a reference point from probably 10 years ago of their Electromatics that just was kind of uninspiring. The pickups were dull, the feel and the fit and finish wasn't very impressive, and so I was a bit skeptical to get this guitar in, to be honest. And I've been surprised in a lot of ways. So we'll talk through some of the specs. You'll get to hear a few sound samples from it, and then we'll come back and go through some of my thoughts at the very end. So let's run down some of the specs for the 5422TG. It's one of a few different models in the Electromatic line, and so this one is in Orange Satin. They also come in white or walnut. It's a hollow body with a double cut on this model. There's a classic C-shaped neck with Laurel fretboard, 12-inch radius, so it's a little bit more flat, pretty quick radius there. 24.6-inch scale length. The control set is a master volume and a master tone, and there's treble bleed on that, and then you get individual volume controls for each pickup. Three-way toggle, which kind of like I mentioned is a welcome change for this Gretsch model for me. I like just having that traditional neck, middle, or bridge option. And then the body is a little bit thinner than those big, Gretsch hollow bodies. This is 2¼ inches deep. And if you check out the 5420 model, that will be your 2¾ inch deep. So it's a little bit thicker on the 5420. This guitar has the FT5E Filtertron pickups, and they've been really impressive. I had low expectations for the sound of these stock pickups and have been pleasantly surprised. So they sound like Filtertrons should, and there's some cool character to them we'll get into later. There's the Bigsby B60 on this and an Adjustomatic bridge, and you've got binding kind of throughout the guitar too. It's a really pretty guitar, gold hardware and such. So those are the specs. We're gonna play through this guitar, give you some sounds from clean to overdriven. I'm using a few effects throughout, so we'll be running a Benson Germanium boost the whole time, adding in a Benson preamp for some dirt, and then a Strymon Brigadier for delay when that hits. And then I'll be using a 70s plate reverb from the GFI Specular Tempest throughout too. And we're running into a UA Ruby as our amp. I also wanted to mention Mono sent over one of their Vertigo cases that's specific to the semi-hollow body size. So the guitar itself doesn't come with a case or a bag of any kind. But these mono bags are really awesome, keeping your guitar safe, and They're super rugged. I mean, I've traveled the country multiple times with cases and pedalboard bags and things from mono, and haven't had any issues over years and years. So super super into mono. Grateful for them for sending that over, and I'll drop a link to that specific case in the bio if you want to check that out to fit your Gretsch in. Let's hear some sounds. So there you go. There's a few sounds that you can get with the Gretsch G5422TG. Some really pretty, like, sparkly, clean tones on one end, and then that nice, rich, kind of growly, overdriven tone with the big hollow body and the Filtertrons in that classic Gretsch combination. So we'll just talk through a few of the thoughts that I had and opinions sort of following up this review of the guitar. And you know, a lot of times I get guitars in and gear in, and I just want to kind of gush about the good stuff because there's so much good gear out there right now, and we can kind of talk about the last 10 or 15% of critiques. So we'll gush about this guitar a little bit, and then I'll point out a few things that were kind of a bummer to me as I played through it and have been playing it for the last number of months. So first off, the guitar retails at $899. It's made in China. And in this day and age, in this marketplace right now, I feel like it's a really reasonable price and a good price point for this guitar, which makes it really appealing to a number of buyers. It's kind of hard to find a really great guitar for under about $500 or $600, and so you're bumping up a little bit beyond that. But it's a really it's a compelling guitar for the price still for what it is. So the first thing that impressed me was the aesthetic, the visual appearance of the guitar, the binding, the gold hardware, the finish is just, it's just awesome. It's beautiful. It's really well executed. I didn't find any blemishes or nicks or critiques in that. So it's a very, very pretty guitar, which I think is cool. I've also been really impressed with the humbuckers. Like I mentioned, my reference point to the Electromatic line was like a really uninspiring, kind of muddy and dark humbucker. So I had low expectations, but these pickups have been great. There's enough clarity, in my opinion, especially in those cleans. There's some really nice sort of jangly clear cleans. And then it breaks up in a cool way too. So you have a nice range of sounds if you're doing clean or mean. There's enough clarity. I don't find them overly muddy, even in the neck. So I think that's a huge plus for this guitar, and kudos to Gretsch for dialing in a nice humbucker at sort of a lower end price point in this guitar. As is often the case in my experience with guitars under about $1,500, is that the Bigsby is just kind of quirky and not really set up that well. So I've done some adjustments to the Bigsby. When I got it, there's this thing that happens with lower end Bigsbys where you have the trem arm that's actually moving. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like the arm will move, but you won't actually be engaging the spring until you clamp it down a little bit. So I tightened the screw a little bit on that. I think it needs a little more adjusting, and maybe my tech needs to look at it and really get it dialed in. But that was kind of annoying to me too when you get it out of the box and the Bigsby isn't as fluid as you'd like it to be. And the other thing that I've kind of noticed doing this review, and I've engaged with a few other folks on Instagram about this, is that there is a little bit of tuning stability issue when you're using the Bigsby. And again, I think it might go hand in hand with getting it set up or dialed in just right. But some guitars do act really well and stay in tune even with the Bigsby, and this one hasn't done that as well as I'd hoped it would. I'm going to bring it to my tech and have him set it up and sort of go from there, but that's kind of a TBD point for this guitar. So that's kind of my main critique. The tuning stability when it comes to using the Bigsby is a little bit off, and it's a knock, and it's also one that after playing dozens and dozens of some of these lower end guitars isn't so uncommon. So I wouldn't put it outside of the ordinary. And like I said, I think the caveat I'd give to a lot of this is that especially when I buy lower end guitars, I more or less expect I'm going to bring them to my tech and have them set them up with the string gauges I like and dial in the intonation and the action and such. So that's kind of the expectation I bring in to lower end guitars, and I'll plan on doing that and sort of report back on how things feel and play and how the tuning sort of works out. So consider that when you're thinking about buying guitars. I think it's a great thing to have either the skills to work on your own guitars or a really reputable tech in your area that can get to know your instruments and dial them in for you. That's all I got. Thanks to Gretsch for sending this over. It continues to be a really fun guitar to play, and you'll see it in videos and posts and things on Instagram and here. Hit the description for the specs and links to this guitar and the mono case behind me. And thanks again for checking out the video. Take care.